creating attraction for the right kind of person is, I think, the absolute best way to start. And when you know who you are and you think, God, I really am as good as I can be, and you're comfortable with your voice and you've learned things about yourself, you've learned reasons why you're not getting a second date that you possibly weren't even aware of. You might be talking too much about yourself, or you followed some online dating advice that tells you to just, ask a lot of questions about the person, but what you're failing to do is connect on a level that is exclusive to the type of person you want to date.
Welcome to the Asian Dating Podcast. I'm your host, May Bugenhagen. I am the founder of Two Asian Matchmakers, which is a boutique matchmaking company that started in Los Angeles. And now I help men all across the USA find a lovely Asian woman. Today, I have my guest, Kristy Taylor. She helps men and women over the age of 50 work on their personal curb appeal. She is the owner and founder of Art of Presentation. So Kristy, tell us what you do and how did you start? Tell us a little bit about you.
Well, I've got a background in design and style and sales and marketing. And I've taken all of my skills and kind of wrapped it around the art of presentation for people. And I've coined it personal curb appeal. So like when you stage a house, I stage people, basically. And I started the company because I got divorced, ironically, in 2020, which was like the worst time to ever get divorced in the history of becoming single, because now you have to wear a mask and you actually can't meet people. But I had, as a result, just ended up talking to a lot of people and meeting them online and on their Zoom calls. And what I noticed I started doing was coaching men on their look and on their curb appeal. So everything from, have you ever noticed, has anyone ever mentioned that you talk particularly loudly or too soft, or that you have uncomfortably long pauses? Or just if I met somebody that I really connected with and I noticed there was something blaringly awkward about their profile, I would just say, would you mind if I give you a little advice on your profile? So my girlfriends coined me, and the men that I was dating actually coined me the campground dater, because I would always leave someone better than I found them. And that's kind of how I got my start.
I love it. I love how you ended up helping people based on your own personal experiences. Now, what are some things that men and women do that kind of make mistakes while they're dating that you've discovered?
Well, right off the bat, they don't take their profile seriously.
Yeah.
And they don't, they just think, a lot of them just think if they put their pictures up there, that's enough. Or some of them will just go on and on about things that are not relevant. And in terms of profiles specifically, there's a lot of do's and don'ts that are common sense that are not common sense unless you have a keen awareness. Like, you don't want to get on there and talk about the things you don't want. That's just, unless you're holistically a negative person, in which case, put that forward, because, on a first date, people are going to figure it out. And if that's not what they're looking for, you're not going to get a second date. So my focus is not on just getting a date, but getting a second date and a third date, and aligning yourself with really someone who fits, not just anyone. Like, so I take what you have and who you are and make it better, but authentically who you are. And I'm not a stylist who will take you out and make you the version of who they think you should be. But I I know it's a overused phrase, but I make you the best you that you can be.
I love that. I love that because oftentimes we see these pictures in magazines or we watch a movie or something and we think, oh, we want to look like that or be like that. But that's not who we are. And we're going to be uncomfortable on the date if we don't feel comfortable in what we're wearing or how we look, right? Like you want to be, lack of a better term, best version of yourself. But do you find that anyone you work with, you can help them look a little bit better, bring out their features better, bring out their personalities better? Like, do people just lack confidence in dating and that's what make them poor daters?
Lacking confidence doesn't make them poor daters, but being a poor dater will suck the confidence right out of you.
I always tell my single people out there when they're dating is your whole goal is to go out and get a second date or a third date. Like be such a good dater and a good conversationalist that people want you back in their lives. I mean, is that a way to get a second or third date, by being a good dater, asking questions or telling them statements about how they feel and then always add the tagline, what about you? What do you think?
Yes, well, being a good there's a lot of pointers and tips out there about being a good date, and they all revolve around creating connection. And there are plenty of ways to do that. Number one is just listen until your ears bleed. But to getting with, I think for my whole approach is finding the right person to connect with. If your goal is just to get a date, that's easy. You can hire there are dating coaches that will do nothing but work on your profile and create a profile for you and get you plenty of dates. But what my approach is getting you the right kind of women and helping you learn to identify the type of people that you're looking for and creating perception of who you are the best you can be. So if you're an introvert and you really like to have home experiences by a fire or watching a movie, then that's who we want to present you as. And even I would do pictures of you, sitting by a fire, or I wouldn't put you with a bunch of your friends with the crowds with a tequila shot in your hand. So really learning how to attract the kind of people that you're attracted to is almost more important than learning how to flirt, but that's necessary. But creating attraction for the right kind of person is, I think, the absolute best way to start. And when you know who you are and you think, God, I really am as good as I can be, and you're comfortable with your voice and you've learned things about yourself, you've learned reasons why you're not getting a second date that you possibly weren't even aware of. Like you might be talking too much about yourself, or you've followed some online dating advice that tells you to just ask a lot of questions about the person, but what you're failing to do is connect on a level that is exclusive to the type of person you want to date, or the type of person, or just connecting rather than just parroting some information that you've learned. Like there's when they say when you're learning how to become a listener, learning listening skills, you'll say things like, tell me more, and then but if it's not authentic and you don't know where to take that or really what it means, and you're like, so tell me more. It's disingenuous. So I work with people on getting comfortable with who they are.
I love that when you said, if you are a person that likes hanging out by the fire and being indoors, to have some of those photos as your online dating profile. You don't have to act like you hike when you really don't hike,
Right.
right? You don't have to act like you love sports when you've only gone to one game in your lifetimes. Like, you don't have to say things just to sound cool, but your online dating profile is a way for you to weed out people and weed in people, right? It's
Yes.
a way to actually display exactly who you are, because time is so precious. I feel like we don't have time to waste with people that we don't think we're going to have a connection with.
Well, that's not a feeling, May, that's a fact. and I think that's what's driving people to dating coaches and to try to find the best tools they can have. But a lot of times they're missing, because you said, you don't have to put pictures about yourself liking sports or being athletic. And I would say it's not even so much as you don't have to, but if you're doing it, it's counterintuitive. And then you have to weed through the people that are like travel. Everybody says I love travel, but what kind of travel do you like? And do you really like travel, or are you just saying that because that's what you think people are looking for? And there are people that are exclusively looking for travel partners, and there are other people that kind of don't really like it. But I think the number one advantage that I bring to the table is I help you create authenticity and get comfortable with your strengths and who you are, and kind of soften the other edges that you don't even know are rough.
Yeah, a lot of times we don't realize our own blind spots. We just don't realize that there are some things, all we need to do is probably tweak one or two things, and that would probably make magic happen. So I have also been helping some men and women with their online dating profiles by doing the online dating takeovers, if you will. And I'm looking at some of the men's profiles out there, and there's like misspellings. They're not using commas. They're not even capitalizing the beginning of a sentence or rambling on. It's like, if you don't put a little bit effort into the online dating profiles, like, how are you going to attract the right woman? Like, do you want to just attract someone who misspells and doesn't care about that kind of stuff? Maybe. But if you're just doing it on your phone and just think, oh, I'll just post photos up and then it'll attract somebody, but they don't know anything about you. It's just a waste of your money to spend the fees on doing online dating when you're not even really fully vested in it.
Yeah, and I would also say that it's a waste of your money and investment if you're hiring coaches that don't know what they're doing. And a lot of people are jumping into this industry thinking, oh, I can, this is an industry. But the difference is you need to find somebody who feel like it's their calling, like May and myself, who are not here to make money, but our goal is, we get endorphins every time one of our clients makes a connection. And it is important that for instance, if you are somebody that constantly makes typos and you're not so wrapped around an intellectual form of communication, more of charisma than intellect, you want that reflected in your profile. And for instance, when some of my clients are maybe not so good at written communication, or maybe they have great success in their business and they've lifted themselves up from their bootstraps, but they're not geniuses. I don't present them as geniuses, because people that are looking for someone that doesn't make a typo isn't going to be interested in that person. So when I'm creating these profiles, I actually will leave a typo in. I'll have a space and then a comma. So it really is, what we're doing is making sure that the person that's interested in you is interested in you. That's what's going to generate the second date and the third date.
So, Kristy, tell us about a success story that you've worked with somebody that you started them at point A and now they're at point B. Like, what was the process and how long does it take for you to work with somebody?
Well, it depends. I have clients that have been with me for over a year because they just keep coming back, and they'll actually want to learn if there's a woman that they're dating, they want to learn how they can specifically woo that woman. And everybody's got a different personality, and everybody's got different trigger points. So uh, I that's what we work on. And the one that I've been working with for a year has finally found someone that they're connected with. And one of the things that we were struggling with for so long is his reluctance to introduce a woman to his son right off the bat. And I had another client that I talked to last year. I talked into putting that he has a young son that still lives with him in his profile because he wasn't getting second dates. So finally he said, okay, I get it. I'll put it in there. And almost 2 months after he started doing that, he got in a beautiful relationship, and she was wonderful with his son, and she liked that aspect of him. Mm-hmm. So this client just kept saying, because his son was only with him half the time, just kept saying, well, it's kind of a non-issue for me. But I'm like, well, yeah, but this is a young son. This is part of your life. So finally I convinced him to lead with that.
Yeah, that seems weird to not put the fact that even if you have your kid half the time, that still matters in dating, and it still matters in someone who wants to date you. They maybe don't want to date a father or a mother. Like, that's important. I would think that people do put that on there. But again, like you said, that might prevent him from getting a second date because he reveals this on the first date, and the woman's like, oh, I didn't know you had a son.
Right.
Right.
And that's what they figure. And a lot of people, if they've got things that they consider maybe, I don't want to say detriments, but things that they don't want to lead with, I disagree with that. And I think if there's an elephant in the room, there's a way that we point it out. So you're dating people that like elephants.
What are other things that you suggest people make sure they're upfront about on their dating profile when they start with you? What are some other things that you suggest, you should put this on there?
Oh, your true age. That's huge. You can, because of the algorithms, I get it. It's not a bad idea to, if you feel like you're truly, everything about you is younger, go ahead and put in that age range, because people do put set parameters, and you might be missing some people that might not look at you otherwise. But you've got to say it in your profile. You have to state, that I'm a few years older, or state what your actual age is. And the other thing that's really important is weight and height. There is something about women that are uncomfortable with their age, and then there's something about men that are uncomfortable with their height. So if you even 2 inches are not honest about your height, when you meet somebody, they're gonna be disappointed, unless you truly are one of the most charismatic humans on the planet. In which case, you probably wouldn't need to be hiring a date coach. And it's okay if you're not charismatic in a way that can overcome any, I guess I'll say the term elephant in a room again. But what you need to do is get comfortable with who you are. And I can cite examples of men that are far more successful than men over 6 feet. And the reason is because they're confident, and because they've figured out that stuff like height, or oftentimes weight, or how much hair you have, or with women, age or weight is something that they're not forthcoming about. And the truth of the matter is, people at our age are looking for connection. They're not as concerned with the exterior as you think they are, but they have to be initially attracted to you, and that's through, if you're heavy, let's put what you look like, but we're going to do it in a way that still makes you flattering. Like, it's okay if you have a belly, but let's not tuck in your shirt. Let's not highlight your belly. So, but being honest about exactly who you are is important.
I think, Kristy, you're great at it. I think the way you come across and talk to people, and you're caring, you're very kind in your words, and you'll find a way to tell people what they need to tweak. I really feel like it's just one or two things that people need to be aware of, and it can really skyrocket their chances and give them multiple men and women to choose from. So a lot of times we're just not aware, right? I mean, people our age, you're right. Second time around, sometimes we're just not being superficial anymore. We're actually realizing, as we get older and wiser, we realize, you know what? There are some people out there that I just want to have a connection with and grow old with, and not so focused on the height thing. And I know we were talking yesterday. It's like, I've never had a client say, gosh, you know what? My husband is amazing. He's like great father to our kids. He is so kind and considerate. He brings home the bacon, and he's so amazing because he's tall. Like,
No.
that like never happens, right? Like,
Yes.
the reason why someone is a great father and a good husband is not because he's tall. Yes, you need to be attracted to your partner. I get it. But man, get to know somebody. I love the fact that what you do is you help someone get not just the first date. Like, date coaches and matchmakers help people get second date, third date. And man, third date is when the magic happens, right? That's when you know what, do I want to kiss him? Can I see myself kissing him or her? When you make the move, or someone cooks for you and you realize that they're just so sweet and their house is nice and clean, and you just learn so much more about someone on the third date than you would first 60 minutes or 90 minutes on a first date. It's so mind-boggling that people write off people so quickly sometimes.
They do, and then that's true. And now that we've all gotten so used to swiping, you have like just a couple of seconds to get somebody interested in you, and I help with those first few seconds, and how you come across will attract the type of person that you're interested in or not.
Mm-hmm.
So, everybody says, don't whatever you don't put a picture of yourself with a fish. Well, unless you fish, unless that's all you do, and you want to find a woman that either fishes with you or loves that you fish.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm saying, yes, put the fish in, but make it a picture that is so compelling and cute and fun and but the shortcoming part, if I guess what I help you do is realize that there are no such things as shortcomings. There is learning to accept parts of yourself that you don't like because other people don't care. And one of the first questions I'll ask if I meet a client that is, so for instance, and this is a big one, if they don't smile, if somebody doesn't smile, I just hate all these words, but they're just, they're just shortcuts. So it's a turnoff, I'll say, and that's just a corny catchphrase, but I'll say it's an inhibitor. So if somebody just isn't smiling, the first thing I say is, so what's going on? What's going on with your teeth? And you'll know that they don't like their teeth. And they say, well, I don't like my teeth. And I said, well, let's fix that. And they're like, well, it's either too expensive or I don't think it's going to be a deal breaker. I'm like, well, you're right. Your teeth will not be a deal breaker. You not smiling is the deal breaker. but somebody is completely unaware that somebody would even be subliminally kind of uncomfortable because of that. So you've got two choices. You can get comfortable with your teeth and you can smile in your pictures, or you can fix your teeth. But avoiding things like that is an issue.
I also feel like at our age, in our 50s, that we should have the disposable income to fix these little things. And if your date coach or your image consultant or your personal curb appeal specialist tells you that, hey, you know what, let's get your hair done, like, you should do it.
You know, it's interesting, and it's not a socioeconomic divide, because most of the people I'm talking with can afford those things, but there is something in society that says it's where we struggle. Something in society that says if you pay attention to your exterior, it means you're either conceited or you're insecure or your focus is on the wrong area. And the truth of the matter is, people are attracted to attracted people. You are attracted to attractive people. And people that take steps to do that are not narcissists or self-involved. They're just aware.
Yeah. I mean, I've worked with women before that are not in their best shape, but they expect a man to be in a great shape. So
yes.
I'm like, wait, would he want to date you the way that you look now? And she's like, well, probably not. Like, I think people need to be self-aware. Like, who's looking for them? Those are the ones who you should go out with, the people who are messaging you on Match.com or trying to get in touch with you on a dating app. Those are the ones that you're attracting. If all the people that you're attracting and you don't like the way they look or you don't like their profiles, it means you need to change something with your profile or your look so you can attract the people that you want to contact you and that you want to contact them. So
that is such a good point, May. I'm so glad you brought that up. One of my clients, I looked at his profile and we were talking, and I said, and we met in person. I said, so I saw his profile before we met, and I thought, I got an image, I got a perception. When we met, totally different. He talked a lot about being athletic and needing somebody athletic, and how in shape he was, and that's what he was looking for, and he was not in shape, which was fine. And I said, so how do you think, how many second dates have you gotten? Because you are not in shape.
Yeah.
And again, I said, you've got pretty much two choices. You can be honest and show who you are and say, I'm not, you don't have to say you're not athletic, because if you think you are, that's fine. But say the type of, I walk 6 miles a day, which is different to some athletes than being athletic. But for somebody that walks 2 miles a day, they're going to think, wow, this guy's in shape. And we have to take some new pictures of yourself and show who you are. Or you got to get in shape. Two choices.
Yeah.
Be who you are or be who you want to be. But you can't just pretend to be who you want to be and have somebody buy into it.
So, Kristy, you're a personal curb appeal specialist, is what I'll call you. What do you do? What is your process when you first get a client, they contact you? Walk us through what you do with them.
Well, we meet. I get to know who they are, because unless I know kind of the essence of a person and I'm helping them, I may be pushing them in the wrong direction or creating a persona that isn't who they are. So we have a kind of an hour consultation, and when I say kind of, because they always go long, but I find out who you are and who you're looking for and the type of person and some of the just what your dating experience is and what your expectations are, and then more about the type of things that you like to do, the things you're interested in, and then we get in the next meeting. We actually get into your wardrobe, and we go through your closet, and we look, and you you just get off camera, and then you get back on camera, and I say, this works, this doesn't work, untuck your shirt. Then there's some tricks if you got a belly, which is fine, because we're relaxed, we're in a relaxed age, but there's some tricks to make yourself the most appealing you can be, and I show you what their tricks are, and then if you've got a date with a particular woman that you want to impress, you can call me, and we figure out where you're going and who she is and what you would be wearing. And from there, we go to glasses, which are like, if you wear glasses, that's believe it or not, 30% of how somebody sees you is how you look in your glasses. And if you're wearing the wrong glasses, it makes you unattractive, or just a change in glasses could make you 30% more attractive. So one of my clients was just hanging on to every last bit of his hair. And he wore hats all the time. And when he took his hat off, he had these just kind of little tufts of hair that made him actually look sickly. So it took about 3 months. I finally talked him into shaving his head. And his friends are like, God, what did you did you have a facelift, or, you look younger, or you look good, or did you lose weight, or are you sleeping more? And it was just that difference, and it took him from an old man to a sexy man.
Yeah.
But nobody would people, if that's not what they do for a living, or they wouldn't know to say that. And also, some people are hanging on to facial hair because they think it makes them look younger, and it just makes them look scruffy. And some people might need facial hair and not know it. And you know what the truth of the matter is you only have to grow it until someone falls in love with you, and then they don't care about facial hair or glasses or the rest of it. But there's so many opportunities right now to meet people and to swipe and swipe, that if there's something about you that just initially doesn't catch their eye, they're not going to fall in love with you. And that's our goal.
Yeah. I love it. I love it. There are little things that people can do to kind of tweak. For example, if a guy has a belly, I recommend that he usually, in a photo session, to wear a suit jacket that kind of hides their belly.
But you got to be careful not to hide it completely.
Right.
So yeah, but you're right, suit jackets. But there's the thing, are they the suit jacket type?
Mm-hmm. Right.
So you can't just be wearing a suit jacket to hide your belly.
For the photo, right.
So I will recommend an Eddie Bauer. I love the Eddie Bauer sleeveless zip vests that they leave unzipped, that are long over the belly. Uh-huh. But but hiding it, not hiding it, but just maybe not making it a focus is huge.
Yeah,
it's huge.
Like for women, I think wearing colors in a photo shoot is better than wearing black or white. I like colors to let people know that you're a happy person, like that you like to smile too. So
right, but
a lot of those things.
But again, what we want to do is present someone authentically, and you want to do a body shot. I put him in black with a bright yellow scarf or whatever color, orange, or a warm, a light green, or something that creates, that does bring the color, because you're right. But there are all sorts of tricks. Yeah. Tricks of the trade. That you don't know.
That we know. Do. I love it. I love it. There are definitely a lot of things people can do to make themselves appear a certain way, but yet be true to themselves, so they're not misrepresenting themselves online.
Yeah, misrepresentation, I think, is the number one killer for second dates. Yeah. And another thing that I do is, if you do get a second date and they come to your home, some men, if they're bachelors, or if they're recently divorced, they might not, even if they know how to do their homes, they might not have the time or the energy or the inclination. And just little things that you're not aware of in your home can send subliminal messages. So I just come in, or we can walk around with the Zoom call or the camera, and make little changes
Yeah.
that will eliminate some red flags, that, like I said, that you're not aware of. And
What are some things that you've helped men eliminate in their homes from a Zoom call like that? Like, what are some things that they weren't even aware of?
Cleaning stuff off your counters, for one thing, especially. I mean, and if you're not going to do it in a photo shoot, you're not going to do it when somebody comes over. So someone had a profile, and they had Flonase and Kleenex in the picture behind them, or just refinement, creating an element of sophistication. A friend of mine who I date coach, and he's I just he's gonna know who he is if he watches this podcast. He likes everything. He's just the master of efficiency. So he creates these kind of cross between particle board and cardboard boxes for efficiency, like for his pen and his iPad holder, and whatever else that he needs, his charger, everything is. But I said, you realize that you've got cardboard throughout your house, and he's like, well, yeah, but it's efficient. I'm like, yeah, but it's kind of weird.
Yeah.
and he says, well, if somebody's going to like me, they're going to like this part of me. And I said, yeah, but they're going to be they're going to be sidetracked with some of the oddities. So you got to get them to fall in love with you, and then you can
Be
get
quirky.
a little more comfortable and be quirky. And yes, there will be 12% of the population of the world that's going to think, oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
But what are the chances of you meeting that person? And you know what? You might not even be attracted to somebody that would be attracted to somebody that's got that level of efficiency, because opposites attract. So you want to create kind of a generic feel for yourself. And if you've got, if you don't have enough furniture, or your place is just loaded with every piece of furniture you ever have, and you don't even, in your mind, you don't realize that you kind of look like a used furniture store, when all you have to do is pick your favorite pieces, or eliminate some pieces. So there's it doesn't either feel cluttered, disconnected, or completely sparse. Like there was one of my clients had just a single cross, tiny little cross in the back of a Zoom call, which made, and that's all it was on the wall. And while it just made kind of the focus, like, so is religion a tiny part of your life or a huge part of your life? And what would, and so I said, let's walk around and see if you've got any other picture. And he had this huge, huge, big picture in his kitchen. It was taking up most of the wall in his kitchen. So I said, so what if we were just to kind of put the wall on, and, somewhere, in your refrigerator or someplace where you can see it every day, put the picture behind you. And that little maneuver, when he saw the difference between the two, created the holy grail of dating, and that's confidence. And the more things that we, having the vest on, and having a better, because you can, let's face it, see yourself in the picture, when you think, oh, I'm kind of cool, I look kind of good. It just helps confidence. And confidence is the number one must-have for dating over anything else. If you've learned how to flirt, but maybe you don't feel like you're the best version of yourself, you're not going to flirt with confidence.
Yeah. I also feel like just hiring a date coach or someone to help them with their image, just that little piece of support for someone to ask questions to and things like that, that helps a lot with dating confidence, I feel like, especially if someone hasn't been dating for like 20 years, 30 years, or whatever that may be, or maybe even haven't had a relationship in 2 or 5 years. It's like, what can you do now to spend some money on yourself, to help yourself, just to get over that little hump and get some confidence? I love everything about it. I love everything that you're doing, Kristy, for the community out there, 50 and above, men and women. I mean, you guys, if you need help, Kristy's right here. Before I let you go, Kristy, thank you for your time. And I'll put all this in the show notes as well. But how would someone get in touch with you, and if they want to work with you, how do they find you?
Well, I have a website called dateable.com, and it's D, the number 8, able.com. Because when you're ready, you are able.
I love it. I love it. Any last minute dating tip you can give the audience for the singles 50 and older?
As a matter of fact, I'd love to close with this. How you would approach dating is the same way you would go about applying for a job. You get a resume together, you would do your research on who it is that you're interviewing with, you'd practice your interview, you'd maybe even hire a coach for that process, and you would go into that interview completely prepared. So hiring professionals to help you with that process, and then practicing. So once I get you ready, we practice dating. We go on a date.
Mm-hmm.
And because even if you're ready, before you've done it a couple times, you get nervous. So we just rehearse and practice and rehearse, and you get comfortable, and then I help you with some good questions, and we talk about how to connect with a person rather than online one-size-fits-all advice. We kind of tailor it to who you are and how you can connect on your level and not just any standard advice. But yes, there are so many wonderful resources on Like May that give you a leg up in the dating world. So the fact that you're listening to this podcast means you're in the right place, and you have kind of begun the journey with a little bit more access and ability than somebody that just thinks they can do it alone.
Thank you, Kristy Taylor, for joining me on this week's podcast. And for you single men out there, if you're looking to hire a matchmaker and you want a little leg up on the dating scene out there, I would love to help set you up with a lovely Asian woman. And ladies, if you're single out there, please join my database and register with me at 2asianmatchmakers.com. And until next time, thank you. Bye, everybody.